Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Alexander Hook, Principal Deputy Chief Monitor of the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission to Ukraine, with weekly report about security situation in eastern Ukraine. Mr. Hook, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. It has been 7 days since the sides recommitted to the ceasefire. This latest recommitment comes less than a month after another recommitment. It is in fact the 6th in the year, but nonetheless much needed recommitment to the ceasefire. This should not deflect from the original commitment by all sides not to use weapons made back in 2014. The Irish poet William Butler Yeats, writing about the conflict in his own country, once wrote that peace comes dropping slow. For people in Donetsk and Luhansk regions who have borne the brunt of 4 years of violence, awaiting peace must seem painfully slow. While those fighting and those ordering it have repeatedly promised to stop, the fighting continues. And the suffering continues. All along the contact line we observe damage to residential homes. Everywhere we noted broken bridges and closed factories. For many people in eastern Ukraine, the basic necessities of life, water, gas, electricity, remain absent or problematic. The recommitment to the ceasefire has, however, brought results. Since 30th March, when the most recent recommitment took effect, our monitors have already recorded 1,721 ceasefire violations. Overall, last week the OSCE SMM recorded over 5,000 ceasefire violations. 5,000 too many, but compared to this time last year, the number represents progress. Albeit slow progress, peace comes dropping slow. For some people most immediately affected, progress that is too slow, progress that is dependent on the willingness of the sides to move the process forward. Dear friends, in 3 days people all across this country will celebrate Easter. People of all political backgrounds and none. They will come together to be with friends and family to celebrate many things. And one of them, I think we can all agree, is hope. Hope in a better future. Hope that, despite past failures, peace is possible. There have been many failures. Sometimes it seems that for every step forward, there have been 2 back. But I remain convinced that peace will come, however slowly. It will come when those fighting and ordering it and condoning it come to realize that violence has no winners. As evidenced by the recommitments and by the reduced levels of violence observed last week, the realization may be dawning, however slowly. As people celebrate this Easter, there will be no doubt be ceasefire violations in eastern Ukraine. But fewer, I hope, than before. And there will be, I hope too, fewer people willing to engage in violence and fewer ordering and condoning it. It is the beginning of peace that we all want. And I hope that the sides want the same. Where there is a will, there is a way. Dear friends, while I do really hope that the sides will be edging slowly towards a sustainable ceasefire, I'm not sure this addresses all concerns. Yesterday was International Day for Mine Awareness and Assistance in Mine Action. It's a timely reminder that explosive remnants of war, meaning landmines and unexploded ordnance, pose a continuing threat to civilians, including the SMM monitors. It is also a reminder that this threat will continue long after the sides finally adhere to the ceasefire. Mines and unexploded ordnance will not disappear automatically, when there is adherence to the ceasefire, the sides need to act. Otherwise, these mines will continue to lurk, waiting for victims, many of whom are and will no doubt be children. This permanent danger is often invisible and comes in many different forms. Last year, of the 145 victims of mines and unexploded ordnance, 20 were in fact children. One of the latest victims this year was a young Ukrainian deminer called Anatoly. Last week he was injured as he helped demine the access road to the Donetsk filtration station. He was injured as he was doing his part to help. I'm happy to hear he's doing better, and I wish him a full and speed recovery. When the guns are finally silent, mines and unexploded ordnance will also slow down, if not prevent, the voluntary return to those who have been displaced or have fled their homes. Having spoken many times to some of them, I know for a fact that many internally displaced persons from Shirokine, for example, desperately want to return to their home. They cannot, and even when the ceasefire is fully complied with, they still will not be able to return home. The church where they once celebrated Easter is hard to access too. Shirokine, like hundreds of other settlements along the contact line, is ringed by landmines. These mines and other explosive hazards currently, and will for as long as they remain, also hinder humanitarian and recovery activities. They do and will disrupt economic activity, with fields and transport routes unusable by those trying to grow crops and raise livestock and get produce to markets. Dear friends, mine clearance and marking need to start in earnest now. The sites recognize this and have indeed committed to doing so as far back as September 2014, when they signed the Minsk Memorandum, which commits them to removing mines and unexploded ordnance and prohibits them from laying new mines. The Mine Action Decision of the Trilateral Contact Group of March 2016 reaffirms that commitment and prohibition. Since those commitments were made, we have seen limited efforts to comply. Real sustained efforts to demine must start now. Of immediate concerns are the thousands of people who will be traveling during Easter period to visit family, friends, and days after Easter when they will be visiting the graves of their loved ones. Last week, when I was in Travneve, I met many people cut off from their graves of their loved ones and churches in nearby Cholmivsky by mined roads and fortifications. They are but some of the thousands of others caught in similar position. As well as actually allowing people to travel, there must be a particular focus on access roads to ensure this Easter is not one of tragedy, but one of hope. The residents of Travneve are awaiting to get safe access to Cholmivsky. They are waiting to be able to celebrate Easter as they have done every year for generations. People must be permitted to travel in safety. They must be allowed to practice their religion without fear of being maimed or killed. Easter is a time for renewal and hope. It is also a time when we honor our dead. This Easter, the sites have an opportunity to let people have their hope restored, to give true expression to their beliefs and traditions, and to ensure that no more children are killed or maimed for life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hook. Now it's time for questions.
Доброго дня.
Good afternoon. My question is related not only to the developments in eastern Ukraine, it relates to religious topics because we are facing issues with the religion as well in Ukraine. As far as I know, the monitoring mission, the OSCE, since 2015, has been observing and monitoring the religious conflicts in western Ukraine, in the village of Pripyat, for example, where there was an armed conflict between religious groups, Christian religious group, but different confessions. My question, whether the mission is monitoring the situation there, and what is your opinion on how to ensure safety and security in this particular segment?
Thank you for your question. The Special Monitoring Mission is mandated to establish facts, and we have done so since the inception of this mission back in 2014. And we have also been monitoring all types of different situations across Ukraine and have been documenting those in our public reports. In fact, in today's daily report, there will be likely a reference to some of these disputes you made reference to. However, the mission as such will stick to the facts and will not speculate on these facts. The facts will be made available on our website in Ukrainian, Russian, and English languages, and will be made available to the public. Of course, the mission will continue to see not only the disputes themselves, but also the actions or reactions by the relevant competent authorities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Crimean News Agency, I would like you to tell in more detail about the meeting in Donetsk with local people that you had during your visit to eastern Ukraine. I'm very interested in the type of people who attended the event, what kind of questions they have asked, probably more detail on concerns of those people living in Donetsk.
Thank you. I'm not sure exactly to what you refer. If you refer to the OSCE Cafe that we have organized on Saturday last week, then is it that part that you mean? Then I can confirm, first of all, that it did take place at our residence at the Hotel Park in there, where we have invited the public to attend in an informal setting. You will also appreciate that because of the nature of it, I will not attribute any comments to specific persons because it was done in an informal manner. There was about 40 individuals there present, a mixed gender, female, males as well, younger, older ones of different professional backgrounds, I believe. Some were very critical of the mission in terms of its methodology and the way it does approach its work and its reports. Others expressed their appreciation for our work. All of them, of course, had one concern, which is the ongoing violence and the need to stop it. And there was a clear need also to clarify the mission's mandate, once again, that the mission is responsible for monitoring and reporting, but the sides, in multiple plural, that have signed up to the agreements are the ones that are responsible to end the bloodshed, to end the violence. There were also exchanges in terms of the need for further interaction with the civilian population, to which we happily agree. We made also clear that the mission can only do as much as it is permitted to do, as often we are stopped in our tracks in doing our job, and that on both sides, but more actively so in areas beyond government control. Thank you.
Are there more questions? If there is no more questions, thank you, and let's finish.